I-26F and not attracted to my BF's 25M beard.
Is it controlling to ask him to shave it? I don't like my BF's beard when he grows it out.
When it's short it's nice, but when he has a lot of hair I hate it.
When I was 6 I was sawed and the person kissing me had a beard like that. I'm not ready to tell him this because it's my private business.
That is the biggest reason I don't like it, but it's also unkempt and scraggy and it rubs against my face and I hate the look.
It just turns me off.
Mainly for the first reason, but the second reason is the only one I'm comfortable telling him.
I no longer want to have sex. I will not kiss him anymore, I just can't. It makes my skin crawl. The problem is I asked him to shave it down and he got annoyed. So I left it alone.
But I don't think it's fair because I often will ask him about hairstyles he likes best on me, out of my favorite ones, and I'll try to wear those more.
I even shave often because I know he likes it more. Which I don't like because it itches when it grows back.
How do I approach this subject without telling him about my childhood but still getting him to shave it down?
Or is that controlling? Liking groomed facial hair is nothing new or unique. Tell him the truth, that you find it unattractive and it reminds you of a traumatic event.
Stating what you want and demanding change are two completely different things.
Honestly, having context on why it bothers you probably would make him understand more.
Because unless you plan on telling him what the issue is, to him it's just going to seem like judgmental nagging.
I hate facial hair for a very similar reason you do, too. Can't stand it.
I can't understand why you trust this man with your body, at your most vulnerable state, but can't be honest with him about this though.
I don't think it's fair to ask of him unless you can be honest about why.
If I were your boyfriend, I sure as shit would like to know if my facial hair is turning you off and is making you not want to have sex with me.
You don't even need to bring up your saw. It would be wiser to tell him. Without that backstory, it is, in fact, shallow and controlling. With the backstory, however, it becomes trauma that you need to heal from.
If not talking about your business ends up hurting your relationship, it would be quite sad, wouldn't it? And if you don't trust him enough to tell him this business of yours, then maybe the relationship isn't that solid to begin with.
So, try and tell him. See how he reacts. It will tell you a lot about his character. He should understand your feelings.
Because the second reason is quite hurtful to say to someone you love. The first reason?
He should hear the pain and deal with it accordingly.
Well, that's what I'd do if my significant other came to me with an issue like you mentioned, though I'm a woman, Sue.
I shave because my wife doesn't like beards. She keeps her hair long because I like long hair.
It should be pretty simple to tell him you don't find beards attractive.
Yeah, you gotta tell him.
Be honest.
Then it's decision, you or the beard. My fiancée, 31 female, and mother, 64 female, had a falling out.
What do I do?
Hey Reddit. I, 33M, was in a relationship with my partner, 31F, for 4 years, and we recently got engaged.
Everything seemed perfect, and I thought we had the right ingredients for a long-lasting relationship.
We had a good rapport with both sets of parents, great friends, and stable jobs. We got engaged in March, and that's when things started to go south. Initially, my partner wanted my parents involved in the wedding planning since I travel a lot for work. They got along well, and I was kept in the loop through FaceTime.
But somewhere along the line, the relationship between my mother and my fiancé deteriorated. They started arguing over catering, the bridal party, and the band. I stepped in to mediate and sided with my fiancé on most issues, but also asked her to reassess some points, which she did. I also talked to my mom and put my foot down on certain matters. Things calmed down until I had my parents over for dinner. When the wedding came up, my mother began screaming at my fiancé, and things went downhill fast. My fiancé made some harsh comments about my family, and my mother said some horrible things about her. There was a lot of pent-up anger that I hadn't noticed before. I had to force my parents to leave because my mother wouldn't stop. Over the next few months, I tried to mediate and suggested counseling, but neither side was interested. Then, my fiancé gave me an ultimatum. Me or your parents. My parents gave me a similar ultimatum. Us or your fiancé. I was gutted. On one hand, my fiancé is the person I plan to spend my life with, but her ultimatum and comments about my family seem out of line.
On the other hand, my parents have always done right by me and I trust them. I'm scared that if we get divorced in the future, I'll be left with no family. My ideal world involves them coming together and moving on.
But I'm stuck and don't know what to do.
I'd love to hear your thoughts and advice on this. Thanks for listening. My parents have always done right by me.
In your home, my mother began screaming at my fiancé. I had to force my parents to leave because my mother would not stop.
Please reassess if your mother has in fact always done right by you if she's in your home screaming non-stop at your fiancé and refusing to stop.
It's a party, not D-Day. Why is your mother getting so aggressive over literally any part of it at all?
She's lucky to have been asked for her opinion on one thing one time, let alone get FaceTimed again and again even as things got even mildly uncomfortable. You're the problem. You're in your wife's wedding, not your mom's. Either stick up for her or let her find a man who will. Your fiancé tried to include your mother and your mother tried to take over. Your fiancé had them over for dinner, your mother screams at your fiancé. I'm no rocket scientist but let me see.
I'm gonna say it's your mother who's the problem. Now you've got some thinking to do.
Hopefully you choose right cause with your mother. I don't see any woman putting up with that.
Leave and cleave. If you cannot stand up for your future wife, do her a favor and don't let her waste more years with you. Who'll want to marry a guy who lets his family disrespect his fiancée and scream at her just because she's planning her wedding as she wants it?
Then it'll be his parents meddling in how she raises the children and so on. She's gracious to still giving him a chance. I'd be gone.
You sided with your fiancé on most issues?
On what issues did you side with your mother against your fiancé?
And why?
What the heck?
Why does your mother even get an opinion?
This is insane.
Your poor fiancé.
Caught my boyfriend M37 out with a girl F29. Read detail below. Am I being gaslit? My boyfriend M37 and I F29 had a massive fight 2 days ago. We lived together and hadn't spoken to allow ourselves to calm down.
Yesterday he didn't come home from work.
I rang his phone 5 times thinking maybe he missed his bus, no answer. I was on the laptop playing chess, which is a usual outlet for me, and notifications from his email kept popping up that he was in a pub. I clicked on one and it was clear he was out drinking with a girl and buying her drinks. So I tried his phone again, no answer.
My heart sank, so I decided to go and find out what is going on myself.
I looked at the location receipts were coming in from and headed to that bar. I waited outside. I couldn't bring myself to go and find out the truth. Then after about 10 minutes the both came outside for a cigarette. I called him and you could see the shock in his eyes. He came over and we argued. He claimed it was a girl from work, which I wouldn't have a problem with if he let me know. Instead of ignoring all my calls and messages, I walked off to my car. He followed and then started laughing at me that like I was being crazy. I drove home. Meanwhile getting texts from him that I embarrassed him and that I was being out of line following him. Few hours passed and I was just getting more and more upset being on my own. It was midnight now and he hadn't returned. I rang him again, no answer. I rang him all night, still no answer. He didn't come home. 6:30 a.m. he finally answered the phone saying he stayed at her house with her partner and he was on his way to work. He's messaging me now saying how this is all my fault and how I made a fool out of him. I would 100% do it again, I told him. He showed no respect for me by purposely ignoring me and not coming home. I felt like someone tore my heart out when you saw them.
Am I being irrational? What would you have done?
Yeah, I'd call that gaslighting. Time for a new boyfriend for sure.
The fact that you've been gaslighting into thinking you're irrational tells all that need to be told about your boyfriend.
At 37, he should not be doing this.
He should be a grown man that has control over where he puts his private parts and respect for you and himself.
He should be planning for long-term stuff.
You are not irrational, you are angry that you have been betrayed. You can rage if you want to.
Babe, run.
I would have packed and left.
Or changed the locks depending on whose place it is.
When he does this, being selfish, it means it's time to give yourself more love and more self-respect. Love yourself, make projects, buy yourself something new, change your look, enjoy life, go out with friends.
Stop being the ideal victim for people like him. Regardless of what the initial fight was about. This is not acceptable behavior. He hasn't shown you or your relationship any respect. Fell out of love with my 25 female husband, 26 male, whom I love so much.
How do I know what I am feeling? I, 25F. Not sure if I fell out of love with new husband, 26M. We've been married for 2 years but in a relationship for almost 8 years and we have a very beautiful 2-month-old baby girl.
It's been a beautiful but painful journey. I'm so sensitive to everything. I've been neglecting the house horse.
My husband tried his best in the beginning to do them and slowly when I could move I started to try to help. But I feel like I do so little, but over time, and even before I was pregnant, he used to comment on how bad I am at cleaning the house and how unorganized I am. Which might be true, and also since we got married he's been commenting on my weight. I am 168 and when we first got married I was 75 kilograms.
Now after birth I'm 90 kilograms.
But this whole 2 years was just him, trying to control my food intake and full of comments about my body and how it also affect our sex life and so many other things.
Lately his comments are more and sometimes we get in arguments and he starts shouting. I hate it. All of this makes me dislike him.
But I love him too much. I'm too attached to him, especially after the pregnancy and birthing experience. He was always there for me and God knows how he tried for me. But I don't know, he makes me hate myself. I already hate my body. He's a very good guy and I couldn't wish for anything else.
I'm so overwhelmed with all this typing.
What am I feeling?
I don't know. He's a very good guy, and he makes me hate myself. Don't really go together.
He seems to be a responsible husband and man, who wants to care for you and his baby. But he's coming on harsh like a sergeant drill and forget that you're his wife who needs emotional and mental support.
This is a conversation you should have with him.
If it's difficult to bring up the reason why he hurts you emotionally and makes you feel insecure further about your weight, then it's time for you both to talk to a therapist together.
I personally would never do that to a woman. This made me furious.
Go to therapy.
He needs to understand how to connect with you emotionally.
It's a basic equation if y'all can give it some effort in good faith.
If he's trying to control your weight, that unfortunately is not being a good guy. I'd never do that to my wife.
Is there any way to get couples counseling? This might benefit from independent mediation. And of course you feel resentful about this and you feel have faulted. That's simply unavoidable in this situation. You know one thing I have never done to my wife?
Criticize her body or eating habits. I support her when she says she wants to get into better shape, or go to the gym, etc., but at no point have I ever commented on her body in a negative way. I always tell her I love her body. That's the body that grew and supported our twins for 9 months. If she wants to improve it for herself, she is welcome to do so, but I will always love her and her body no matter the size, unless it were to become an actual health issue of obesity. Your husband is being abusive.
That is the reason you are feeling awful about yourself. He is emotionally abusing you, and it's not okay.